Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda and this is Confidence Mindset with Amanda. And in this video, I just want to talk quickly about what it means to embody the God state. So to embody the God state from my perspective is when you are showing up in your own individual self, that you are unapologetically and confidently expressing your authentic self, which means that you are not governed by people who like you or dislike you. You're not governed by people who love you or love you. You're simply just being yourself at all times. And regardless of what anyone thinks, you continue to do so. This means that you are so in knowing within your worth, your value, your self-respect and your dignity, that even when you make mistakes, you are recognizing these mistakes and you recognize them in a way that you are still unapologetically confident in your own self, that you are able to show up and say to anyone who you may have disrespected or anything in any way that you wouldn't have thought in the moment, but maybe there was disagreements or whatever, but you show up in a way that you apologize straight away, in a way that you expect the person to accept your apology because you know you're sincere. And if somebody doesn't accept an apology from you, you don't chase after, you don't try to prove your worth. You are somebody who is knowing how sincere you are, and so you allow it to just be, knowing that that person will eventually turn around and come back to you and say, okay, thank you for apologizing, maybe I didn't like this, whatever, and then you move on and you enjoy that person or whatever it is that you made the mistake with. It's like there are no mistakes. And when you are really embodying your God self, you understand this in the way that you know that mistakes are just room for growth. And you know that when mistakes pop up, you recognize it in yourself and you say, okay, well, I'm not actually happy with the way that I acted here. So I'm going to take accountability for this and I am going to do my bit. And whether I have to apologize or not, or rectify things, I will do that so sincerely that I only need to do it once. So if you are somebody, especially from my own perspective, I used to be a little bit of a people pleaser, but since I got into all of this law of assumption, I did a lot of work on mindset, and I continue to do so because I find that having a great self concept and having confidence within yourself, which does become gradual, like it doesn't happen straight away from my own perspective anyway, but when you are able to ground yourself with all of this, you are able to embody the God state a lot more, because no one can bring you down to a level then that you are not recognizing your self-worth. You don't allow anyone to treat you in a way that is less than what you deserve. And if this does happen, then you recognize it for what it is, and you say to yourself, okay, well, I allowed that to happen and I'm going to take accountability for it. I'm taking responsibility. This is my life. And if I allowed someone to believe that they could treat me in that way, well, that's my own doing. And then I'm going to learn from that and I'm going to move on. You don't dwell on it. Now, as well, that's what I was saying, if you're a people pleaser, you don't run after them. So if you make a mistake and you apologize, you expect that apology to be accepted because you know you're sincere, you know that you have great integrity, you know that you're coming from a place of pure, honest innocence within when you apologize for something. And you don't run after and try to prove your worth as if somebody didn't accept it. So you don't say, okay, well, let me prove this, let me prove it to you, let me do this or whatever. You don't do that. You stand in your known, you apologize, you move on, and you allow for that person to come to you and accept the apology. And this is what is meant when you are embodying your God state. You don't allow people to come in and make you feel less than who you are. That's why I love to quote that quote by Martin Luther King in the blueprint of our life, that he suggested that we have that number one principle is to always have a deep belief in your own dignity, in your own value and your own worth, and in your own somebodiness, that your life is significant, that you matter because you do. And that's why you came here. You came here to experience life. And nobody is any better off, nobody is any less off. We're all the same. And when you work on your confidence and your self-concept, it's a lot easier to embody this God state, because I'm human. I've made a lot of mistakes in from before as well too, but all of these lessons that I learn along the way help me to become a better person, and become a better person in the sense that I'm able to embody a more individual character rather than just a personality. I'm able to express what I actually believe in. I'm able to express what I actually think, and I don't allow for anyone to come in at me and have any, I allow people to have opinions and that, but I don't allow it to affect me in any way. If it does affect me, then I look at why it affected me, and I work on that, because at the end of the day, it is all just about you. It's all about how you feel about yourself, and how you decide how people are going to show up for you in your reality. And this is not to say that we don't love people in our world. And I know that when we're starting a relationship as well too with people, and sometimes there is a tendency for us to, maybe when we really like someone, we tend to overgive of ourselves a little bit. We tend to love them a little more as well too. And when we do this, we're losing sight of the God self, because really, if we end up loving someone more than we love ourselves, we're losing ourselves in that sense. And this is the only thing that is what happens then when things dissolve, because we're not recognizing our own worth and our value, or God state. We're not embodying our God state. So it's always about being grounded in your own self-worth, to know that people come into your life and they're compliments to where you are. They're not the defining factor, which means it doesn't matter if they like you or they don't like you. It doesn't matter. It's how you feel about yourself, and you continue to show up in yourself in such a way that if you know that everyone likes you, then it's always going to be that way, and you do what you want to do regardless, because you know that you're being true to yourself. And when I say when you do what you want to do regardless, I mean coming from a love perspective, coming from your inner truth. If you want to go after a certain career in life because you know that that is your true desire to do it, then you do it regardless of what anyone says or thinks. Even if it means that you are going it alone, you do it because you are passionate about this. You don't give up on yourself. Essentially, you love yourself in such a way that you are your number one fan the whole time, which means that it doesn't matter if you have so many friends. It doesn't matter if you have loads of likes, comments, and all of these things when it comes to social media, because you're just so grounded within yourself that you enjoy everyone when they're there, and you even enjoy them when things maybe do show up unfavorably, because you say to yourself, okay, well, maybe there's somewhere else that I need to do better. And I do look to a lot of great figures from our history and contemporary times, of people who embodied this God state. And Maya Angelou is another one as well too. She has a great legacy, and she did so much great work. And she always showed up in a way, when you watch her in interviews, that she was just so humble about it all. Like, she was humble about it all, but she was confident about it all. She didn't dim her light for anyone, and she was right. And but she did it in such a humble way. And this is what is meant by the God state. It's, you stand by yourself no matter what. Now, from my perspective, I think that we're always learning how to be in the God state, because it's really just all about growing and learning and finding ourselves. And we're always going to make mistakes along the way, because we're human, and it's to understand this as well too. Now, I don't want to put any limitations out when we're manifesting, because I believe that if you're manifesting, you want to come from the belief that everything is possible, because this is, for me anyway, what manifesting is. And which means you can manifest anything into your life, and that you always come from that belief, and that there's no limitations, no matter what you watch anywhere on YouTube, on TikTok, or any other social media platform that is talking about manifestation, it should always be coming from the belief that everything is possible and there should be no limitations. However, when it comes to embodying a God state, I do believe, from my own perspective, that it is about personal growth. It's about your confidence and your self-concept, and this doesn't come from just one affirmation of implying that you're in the God state. It comes from loving yourself. It comes from learning to love yourself. It comes from learning to love who you are as a person. And it comes from knowing that we are always striving for progress. We're never striving for perfection, because practice makes progress. It never makes perfection, because there is always room for improvement. And it's to understand that we're perfect, even through our little faults and our little traits that we may find undesirable. We're perfect always, because we're always learning and we're always growing. And as Maya Angelou would say, when you know better, you do better. And when you know better, you do better, because you are coming from a place of learning. And as you come from a place of learning, accountability, taking responsibility for your own self, you're always stepping into that God self. You're becoming so individual in yourself. If you ever look at great leaders in that, it wasn't just their personality. You admired them because they stood outside the box, even when people maybe didn't agree with what they were doing, even if it meant that they were putting their life in danger. They stood outside the box. They said what they had to say. They did what they had to did, or they did what they had to do to get their message across, to get, as Martin Luther King did. I know unfortunately he was assassinated, which was awful, but he went out there, and even though there was a possibility that this was going to happen, because he was speaking out for everybody, he still did it. So it's like your fearless confidence within yourself. Maya Angelou, she was great in her legacy, all the literature that she wrote for in all different aspects of life, and she wasn't afraid. She didn't dim her voice. She came out and she said it, and she was admired for that, and that is why she has a great legacy as well too, all the while being humble in her knowing, in her confidence, in her self-worth and value, in her knowing that she was allowed to stand up for what she believed in her principles, and expected to be respected as well too. And that's the way that it is when you are in your God state. So I just wanted to make that video to explain what it actually means to be in the God state, because when we are manifesting, and I know that if when we're manifesting things in the law of assumption community, and that there's a misconception that the God state is you affirming that you're powerful and that you always get what you want. And yes, these are great affirmations as well too, but we want to be embodying it, and to embody it is to come from a place that nothing, look, and I'm not going to say that nothing will ever affect you, because we're human, but to come from a place that you're always going to be okay, because you know how valuable you are. You know that you matter, you're important, you're significant. Martin Luther King said, always have a deep belief in your own dignity, your own self-worth, your own value, and your own somebodyness. To know that your life matters, that you have significance in this world, and to continue to know that, and to be unapologetically yourself. And this is how you serve. This is how you, when you are so true to yourself, everyone reflects it back to you, and you begin to become more confident within yourself. You understand that when you have an opinion about something, it should be heard as well too. If you're willing to listen to other people's opinions, then your opinion matters as well too. All the while coming from this humbleness and from this loving, understanding place of community and communicate and good communication. And that is how you stand firm in embodying your God state. And so I just wanted to make a quick video on that, and I will leave that there. Thank you so much for watching, and I will chat to you soon.